I felt like I was coming home.
It's almost like meditative, do you know what I mean? Just stand on the dance floor and just absorb sound.
I felt a sense of belonging.
It's like a real start of an underground movement.
As a young gay black teen, that was home.
I've never felt bass going through my body like it.
Being a young kid, watching it all unfold, it was special to me.
I love music.
Myself, Nikki, Johnny and Danny came back from Ibiza. Club culture, as we know it today, began. Everything changed.
There was a typical club scene, and then you'd go to your first rave. And the first thing I noticed was that there wasn't this thing about boys and girls. It was like you sat down and you would talk to about 20 people in this rave.
I think then when the actual rave culture kicked off, it was not just regional, it became like national.
It was the first time you saw 1,000 people, all in the same direction, all listening and focused on the music. Club culture, as it's known today. We started it in Britain. We started that.
I pretty much spent 80% of the 90s every night in a nightclub. Everything that I knew about club culture was completely restricted to London. The real eye-opener for me was going to the north, like Manchester and Liverpool. It was like going to another planet.
A lot of my friends came from Manchester and the Hacienda club scene and all that stuff.
Hacienda, like when it started, people like Madonna played there for like 50 quid. That place was amazing.
People who live in Manchester are proud to be Mancunian and they're proud of the city's cultural musical heritage.
Scene in Manchester, it's just like everyone is just close, everyone looks after each other as well. It's so full of talent, so much good music is coming out of Manchester.
If I'd ever do a tour and it's not a gig in Manchester on this tour sheet, I get absolute backlash. They're just always up for it, just always mad for it, I guess.
Manchester had a big community, Bristol had a big community as well, and yeah, they both have incredible musical cultures.
Bristol really was the centre of our identity growing up. It was an inspirational time thinking, fucking hell, all this stuff's attainable. And then we had Glastonbury Festival. We used to jump the fence. And then you'd see all the best bands and people from the whole world. So we had this whole infrastructure of music and creativity. We didn't even realise how lucky we were.
Very special place to me, Bristol. I remember going up there and we got off the coach. The vibe that the people were on, like on a musical taste, what I was into at the moment, it was perfect.
Massive Attack owned a venue right in the centre of the city, so old vaults, really big, thick, heavy walls. And we were like, well, if we put a decent system in here, then, you know, we can throw some really good parties, and that's what we did. That was the beginning of the Tube.
We just used to go down there and party a lot. All my friends used to work there, and they'd always be like, yeah, we're at the Tube, come down. You'd get down at like 5 in the morning, and it would still be popping. You'd end up staying there till midday, 1 in the afternoon, and then walk out into the like blaring sun of like Bristol city centre.
Some DJs were obviously started off there. I think it'd be disingenuous to say that they were made because of the Tube. You know, we talked about the Skreams and the Redlights and the Eats Everythings and Jokers and Pinches that all certainly passed through and did a lot of work there and performed there and buzzed off it.
It's real, like, roots-orientated sound system style, and it was one place where it just got it straight away, and just like going out as a punter. And the Bristol party scene is like insane.
The Residents of the Monday nights, which back then we didn't realise at the time was the kind of beginning of the dubstep sound, which was like people like Pinch and Apple Bloom and Shackleton and Headhunter.
I made so many close, good friends in Bristol.
There's something about the north of England that when it comes to music.
It was always that little bit different, like not just in the dance scene, no, there was like a lot of bands.
You know, New Order, Happy Mondays. Today, like people like Oasis and Primal Skream and Stone Roses, they're all influenced by what happened in late 80s, early 90s in Manchester.
The scene there, it reminds me of Glasgow where you can play anything.
Eclair Fifi is a really sick DJ. Ahoy Ahoy was my favourite club night in Manchester. Probably one of my biggest influences in terms of the calibre of DJing that you'd see.
We put on parties at a club called the Roadhouse.
Roadhouse, yeah, on a Monday. Roadhouse on a Monday, yeah.
It's a tiny little sweaty basement.
As soon as you got in, you'd go directly down the stairs.
And you immediately just get thrown onto the dance floor.
It's quite dingy, sweaty. It was a total dive.
It's very like a small, sticky, gringy place.
I like those clubs though, those small, intimate venues.
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes the dives are the best places.
Roadhouse was just a solid venue. I remember the early days when I was going and I was watching Totally Enormous Extinct Dinosaurs do like a live set.
I like making people go mad, so if they're already a bit mad already, fucking, it's a bit easier, isn't it?
Grime's always been a part of Manchester Lit Youth. I guess what we were kind of instrumental in was bringing the London lot down and putting on parties. And then loads of times you'd get like the Manchester MCs just jumping on the mic, spitting some bars, and you'd have like Skittles turning up and just like spraying like the maddest stuff. We did it so we could listen to what we wanted to listen to and play what we wanted to play. It was kind of a selfish decision.
The real difference between UK club culture compared to European club culture is that we had a great multicultural mix. That mix of cultures within London was incredibly important.
With everything to do with music, it's something that brings different cultures together.
It opens up a place where people feel like they belong.
I think I've always tried to explore myself through clubbing.
Me and Plastic People, so Trash started there.
That was the first time I heard Erol Alkan DJ in there.
As soon as you got to the top of that wee narrow staircase, it was like butterflies.
That was my introduction to clubs, and it was fucking a right good one.
I got plenty of memories of Plastic People. First of all, confused as to like, what? Why is it so dark in here? And like, I've never been in a place like this where it just felt like a house party with like the most enormous sound system you've ever heard.
And sometimes there'd just be one spotlight right in the middle.
I used to just go and stand right in front of the speakers. What came out of it was just the physical feeling of that music.
You know, one of the funny things about Plastic is that if you weren't familiar with playing there, it wasn't actually like an easy place to DJ.
Because I remember that mixer being the most powerful piece of junk in the galaxy, that was it.
First time you played, you really fucked up.
First time I heard Skream properly, he was in there. Skream and Bengal, like 15, 16.
We used to get the limo up from Croydon.
I think they figured out that it was cheaper to hire a limo from Croydon, so they used to just pile in this limo and like fall out of it, absolutely hammered on, you know, and then go in and be amazing in the club.
I think it was a song I'd made called Cape Fear. It was a remix of an old garage track, and it got played in If Making My Hair Stand Up Now, and like the whole place went insane. He pointed at me from behind the booth and said, "That kid's the future." Let's scream, "That kid's the future," and all the crowd started looking at us. It was like, yeah, this is what it's about. Finding my mix of it might be next to impossible. It might be on YouTube.
You'd go down and somebody was clearly just trying out an idea on the dance floor. You could hear that wasn't a finished product.
We were like the Monday night alternative. I really didn't have any experience in promoting a club, but I thought, well, if it gives me the ability to play whatever music I want, then it's probably worth doing.
The people that went there were the kind of people that you wanted to have those experiences with. It's where like Quartet, Floating Points, they all kind of grew up in that scene and really brought that East London clubbing culture to life.
Everybody wanted to hear their music on Plastic People sound system. When we had the Love Me Like This, the Floating Points record, it came on one time, everyone's going crazy, and I just saw Floating Points come running past me, and I was like, yo, where are you going? And he's like, no, I've got to get out of here, because it was such a magical moment. I think he became a bit overwhelmed. There's some film online of that on YouTube.
A lot of stuff that came through Plastic People, a lot of DJs did go on and play at Fabric. It's been pretty much everyone who was at Forward Nights, you know, Quartet, Floating Points, Alex Nutt. A lot of those people that I first heard down there all ended up playing the club.
Yeah, I think with all the club closures, there's this new DIY generation.
It was really sad when it closed. That small venue still lives in a lot of people's hearts, and that's one of the greatest things that you can feel, I suppose. You know, the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you about it now, 28 years after I first started going to those clubs, is an amazing thing.
The Roadhouse, it was kind of home to like loads of different genres and loads of different styles. It was just a really good like music venue, basically. Sad it's gone.
With those venues, they're a real labour of love.
Our resident DJ, Shy1, she's got the last receipt she ever got from Plastic People. She has like, I think she's gonna get it framed because that's how much she loved that space.
I really miss those places.
I believe it lives on through the history of these places. I think it went out on a high, really.
Clubs are closing, but you can never stop subcultures popping up.
Say you literally came to London, you wouldn't be able to look in Time Out and find out anything about any kind of interesting club nights. You can't Google them thing there.
It's only in hindsight I actually see how much plastic was an influence on us and what we did and the types of music we put in out.
It was integral to a lot of, big club nights of now and labels of now.
You were going in there midweek and seeing Skepta in there, Wiley was in there, lots of those now very successful grime MCs were going down there and hanging out, incubating ideas and incubating styles.
People like Touching Bass and Galdem and BBZ, it is about community, it's about throwing events for the right reasons, for fun and for progressing the art and the culture and making sure it's not getting diluted and sold off and watered down, and that was always what plastic was about. It's like, you can only do real shit here,
The music and the spaces and the communities growing out of it, it's just so beautiful.
Rave culture or dance culture or even music has included the people who felt excluded, and you create your own culture. That's what music and creativity is about.
People feel like they can be themselves and feel safe and supported in club environments. That's how it's moving right now.
London's spectacular at the moment. The vibe in London is great.
The punk scene in Bristol is something I've been waiting to take off again for ages. And it's been bubbling away, and it's really nice to see.
The future is embracing where it's going.
Music always brings people together, whatever it is.
It's a space where I feel like I can just do whatever the fuck I want.
When you step into that club, you become one. That's the moment, that's what we started. That's why it was so special. Everyone wants a part of that.